Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when it feels like the ground beneath us has given way. When dreams shatter, relationships break, opportunities disappear, and we're left staring into a darkness that seems endless. In these moments, it's easy to believe that all is lost, that we are broken beyond repair. But I want you to know something deeply important. Hope is not the absence of struggle. Hope is the light we carry through the struggle. Even when everything falls apart, hope can be found not by avoiding pain, but by learning to rise within it. Today, I want to share with you 5 powerful truths, 5 key points that can help you hold on to hope when life feels like it's crumbling around you. Number 1, rock bottom can be the solid foundation you build on. When life knocks us down and everything seems to fall apart, there is often a point where we hit what feels like rock bottom. It's a space that feels heavy with despair, confusion, and helplessness. At that depth, it's easy to believe there's no way out. The things we once relied on, relationships, jobs, routines, our sense of identity may crumble, leaving us in a silence we didn't ask for and a stillness that feels like a punishment. But here's the hidden truth. Rock bottom, as terrifying as it feels, can be the most honest and fertile ground on which to begin rebuilding. It can be the solid foundation that gives birth to an entirely new version of yourself, stronger, wiser, and more real. When everything is stripped away, we are left face to face with our true selves. The noise of the world fades. The expectations of others no longer matter as much. The layers of masks we wore to fit in or be accepted start to fall off. At rock bottom, there's no more pretending, and that's a gift, even if it doesn't feel like one at first. You begin to understand what truly matters, who truly matters, and what you truly want from life. There is clarity in that darkness, a raw, unfiltered truth about who you are and who you want to become. In our highest moments, we rarely question ourselves deeply. We're busy climbing, achieving, impressing, surviving. But when we fall, we start to ask the questions that actually shape our future. Who am I without my titles? What do I believe in when everything is gone? What am I capable of when I have nothing left to prove and no one left to impress? These questions hurt, but they are powerful. They are the beginning of transformation. You see, growth doesn't begin when everything is going well. It begins when things are at their worst, when you're forced to rebuild from ashes and scraps. At rock bottom, we have a chance to reimagine our lives from the ground up. There is a strength that comes from having been broken and choosing to rise anyway. There is a wisdom that comes from walking through pain and deciding not to let it define you. And there is a quiet kind of courage that comes from being shattered but refusing to stay shattered. Rebuilding from rock bottom isn't fast and it isn't easy. It's uncomfortable. There are days where you will question your worth, your progress, and your ability to keep going. But slowly, piece by piece, you start to put yourself back together. Not in the way you were before, but in a way that's more grounded, more self-aware, and more in alignment with who you really are. You stop living for validation. You stop chasing what doesn't nourish your soul. You begin to choose differently, not because of fear or pressure, but because now you know what matters. There is something profoundly powerful about having nothing to lose. It frees you. It gives you permission to take bold steps you may have feared before. Maybe it's the business you always wanted to start. Maybe it's the boundaries you were once too afraid to set. Maybe it's the courage to walk away from things that never loved you back. At rock bottom, fear begins to lose its grip, because when you've already lost what you thought you couldn't live without, you realize you can survive much more than you imagined. And perhaps the most beautiful part is this. The version of you that rises from rock bottom is often more authentic, more grounded, and more compassionate. You understand pain in a way that gives you empathy. You know struggle in a way that deepens your connection with others. You start to lead with your heart, not your ego. You become someone who doesn't just survive, you help others survive too. You become a light for those still lost in the dark. We often think that the strong people are the ones who never fall. But true strength is found in the ones who fall hard, break deeply, and still choose to rise with integrity, with kindness, and with hope. You don't need to rush your comeback. You don't need to have it all figured out. Just begin with one small step, One act of self-respect, one moment of stillness, one breath of belief. From there, brick by brick, moment by moment, you will rebuild. So if you're at your lowest point, if everything feels like it's collapsed around you, know this: you're not at the end. You're at the beginning of something new. This is the foundation of your next chapter. You're not weak for being here, you're human, and in your humanity, there is power. In your pain, there is potential. In your fall, there is the making of your rise. Rock bottom is not the grave, it is the ground. The ground where you plant the seeds of your rebirth. The ground where you build something more meaningful, more aligned, more you. So don't be afraid of the fall. Embrace it. Let it strip away what no longer serves you. And from there, begin again. Not as the person you were, but as the person you were always meant to become. Number 2, pain is a message, not a life sentence. Pain is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. Most people try to avoid it, numb it, deny it, or run from it. But the truth is, pain isn't our enemy, it's a messenger. It arrives uninvited, yes, and it often hurts more than words can describe. But pain always carries a message, a signal that something within or around us needs our attention, our care, our transformation. It is not a punishment. It is not a sign of weakness, and it is definitely not a life sentence. Pain doesn't mean we are broken forever. It simply means we are human, and we're being called to grow, to learn, to heal. When we're in pain, it's natural to feel overwhelmed. Whether it's emotional, physical, or mental, pain can be consuming. It can cloud our vision, drain our energy, and make us feel like the world is closing in. But what we often forget in those moments is that pain is not permanent. It's not the final chapter. It's just part of the process, the part that awakens us. Pain has a way of opening our eyes to things we couldn't see when we were comfortable. It shakes us, interrupts us, and forces us to listen to what we've been ignoring. Sometimes it's a cry for change. Sometimes it's a reminder of what we truly value. Sometimes it's the catalyst that pushes us to become who we were meant to be. Think about the times in your life when you grew the most, not physically, but emotionally and mentally. Chances are, those moments were born from struggle. Maybe it was the heartbreak that taught you what real love should look like. Maybe it was the failure that redirected you toward your real passion. Maybe it was the loss that showed you how precious every moment is. Pain leaves marks, yes, but those marks can become wisdom, strength, and compassion if we allow them to. The key is not to suppress pain or pretend it doesn't exist. The key is to sit with it, ask what it's trying to teach you, and let it move through you instead of staying stuck inside of you. Too often, people treat pain as a life sentence, as if it's something they'll carry forever without relief. But that's not the nature of pain. Pain wants to be felt, understood, and then released. It doesn't want to stay with you forever. It wants to move, but when we resist it, when we bottle it up or bury it deep, it festers. It shows up in other ways, in our relationships, in our self-esteem, in the decisions we make out of fear instead of love. Avoiding pain only gives it more power. Facing it gives you the power back. There's also a deep sense of freedom in recognizing that pain is part of being alive. We don't get to experience joy, love, and meaning without also being vulnerable to hurt, disappointment, and grief. They are two sides of the same coin. The people who feel the deepest pain are often the ones who are most open to life, who care deeply, who dare to love fully. That's not weakness. That's bravery. That's the kind of strength that isn't always visible but runs deep. And when you accept that pain is a message, not a life sentence, you start to carry it differently. You stop blaming yourself for feeling it. You stop thinking there's something wrong with you. You begin to treat yourself with more patience, more gentleness, more compassion. Pain doesn't always disappear overnight. Healing takes time, but every day you choose to face it instead of hiding from it, you take a step forward. Every tear that falls is a release. Every quiet moment of reflection is part of your recovery. Every time you speak your truth, even if your voice shakes, you're reclaiming your power. Slowly, your pain becomes a part of your story, not the whole story. It becomes something you carry with understanding, not shame. And eventually, it becomes something that helps you connect with others who are hurting too. That's one of the most beautiful things about pain. It connects us. When we stop pretending we're fine all the time, when we allow ourselves to be real and honest about what we're going through, we give others permission to do the same. We break down the walls of isolation and replace them with bridges of empathy. You never know who needs to hear that it's okay to feel broken sometimes, that healing isn't linear, and that pain doesn't make them any less worthy. When you embrace your pain, you become a light for others walking through the dark. So if you're hurting right now, don't believe the lie that this is how it will always be. Don't believe that your pain defines you or that it will never get better. You are not sentenced to a life of suffering. You are in a season one that hurts, yes, but one that will eventually pass. Listen to what your pain is trying to tell you. Let it teach you. Let it shape you not into someone who's hard or bitter, but into someone who's deeper, kinder, and more alive. Pain is real, but so is healing, so is growth, so is hope. This chapter is hard, but it's not the end. Let your pain speak and then let it go. Number 3, you are stronger than you think. These words may sound simple, but they carry a truth that many forget, especially during moments of pain, loss, or fear. Life has a way of testing us, sometimes gently, sometimes with unimaginable force. And in those moments of challenge, we often doubt ourselves. We believe we're not capable, not worthy, not equipped to handle what's in front of us. But the truth is, we all carry within us a quiet, untapped strength. A strength that doesn't always roar, but is present in the simple act of waking up, trying again, and refusing to give up. Strength doesn't always look like confidence or control. Sometimes it looks like holding yourself together when everything is falling apart. It looks like getting out of bed when your heart is heavy. It looks like facing a day you didn't think you could survive and still showing up. The world may not always see these moments as heroic, but they are. Because strength is not just about power, it's about resilience, endurance, and the courage to continue when quitting would be easier. Think back to the times when you thought you wouldn't make it, moments where life knocked the wind out of you through failure, heartbreak, betrayal, or loss. At that time, you may have felt like you were at your limit, but you're still here, you endured. Maybe you crawled through it, maybe you cried through it, maybe you screamed through it, but you made it. That wasn't luck, that wasn't chance, that was you. That was your inner strength doing what it's always been capable of, helping you survive even when you thought you couldn't. So many people walk through life unaware of the strength they carry. They see their flaws, their mistakes, their scars, and they think that makes them weak. But those scars are proof of survival. They are reminders of everything you've already overcome, and no one walks through this life untouched. No one escapes pain or hardship, but those who continue moving forward, those who carry their broken pieces and still try to build something beautiful. That is what strength truly looks like. We live in a world that often glorifies perfection, success, and constant progress. But real strength shows up in the in-between moments, in the silence, in the struggle, in the times when you feel invisible but keep going anyway. It's in the way you hold space for others even when you're hurting. It's in the way you forgive, love, and hope again, even after being disappointed. It's in your persistence, your kindness, your refusal to let the darkness win. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is ask for help. There's a misconception that being strong means doing everything alone, carrying every burden in silence. But true strength is knowing when you need support and having the humility to reach out. It's recognizing that vulnerability doesn't make you weak. It makes you brave. You don't have to fight every battle by yourself. You're allowed to lean on others. You're allowed to admit that you're tired. That honesty with yourself is another form of strength. You are not defined by the moments when you feel weak. Feeling overwhelmed, lost, or broken doesn't erase the strength within you. In fact, it's often in those moments that your deepest strength is revealed. It may not feel heroic or powerful while you're in it. It may feel quiet, shaky, and unsure. But strength doesn't always feel like strength in the moment. It often feels like barely holding on. And yet, holding on is exactly what makes you strong. There is so much more inside you than you realize. You have yet to discover all the parts of yourself that rise in the face of adversity. You haven't met every version of you that will emerge from struggle, the you who grows through heartbreak, the you who stands taller after failure, the you who finds courage in fear. Life will keep giving you chances to meet those versions, and each time, you'll discover a new layer of resilience you didn't know was there. And the beautiful thing is, your strength doesn't just serve you, it inspires others. When you rise, you give others permission to rise too. When you refuse to quit, someone watching you feels less alone. You never know who is looking at your story and finding hope. Your strength has the power to heal, not just yourself, but the world around you. So the next time you doubt yourself, the next time you feel overwhelmed by life's weight, remember everything you've already survived. Remember the battles you've already fought and the storms you've already weathered. You've been through pain that could have broken you, but it didn't. You're still here, still breathing, still trying, and that means you are stronger than you think. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to be fearless or perfect. Just take one step, one breath, one choice to keep moving forward, because that small act, repeated over time, becomes a force of strength that nothing can shake. You are not fragile, you are not weak, you are powerful beyond measure. Believe that, live that, and when life tests you again, and it will, you'll find yourself rising stronger once more. Number 4, even the darkest night will end, morning always comes. Even the darkest night will end, morning always comes. This truth, though simple, is a powerful reminder in times of despair. Life has seasons, some filled with sunshine and laughter, and others heavy with sorrow and silence. When you're caught in one of those dark seasons, it can feel endless. Pain stretches time, and the night seems to go on forever. But just as surely as the sun sets, it also rises. No matter how long the night lasts, morning always comes. There are moments when we feel completely lost, when everything that once gave us joy, clarity, or purpose seems to vanish. Life can feel cold and unwelcoming. Whether it's heartbreak, failure, grief, anxiety, or overwhelming loneliness, these moments of darkness are real and consuming. They make us question everything: our strength, our future, our worth. In these spaces, hope feels like a distant dream, like a light we can no longer see, but it is still there. Just because you can't see the sun doesn't mean it has disappeared. It's waiting just beyond the horizon, ready to rise when the time is right. We often forget that healing and growth don't happen in the light alone. They often begin in the dark. Seeds grow in the soil long before they break through the surface. And we, too, do some of our most profound becoming in the shadows, in the hard times, in the struggle, in the quiet moments of questioning and searching. Darkness doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're human. It means life is unfolding in ways you might not yet understand. Sometimes the night drags on not because morning has forgotten you, but because you are being prepared for it. What you're feeling now, this pain, this confusion, it is not permanent. Emotions pass, situations shift, seasons change. The night you're in now may be longer than most, but it's still a night. And that means it has an end. You don't have to force the morning to arrive. You don't have to have all the answers. All you have to do is keep going, keep breathing, keep holding on, because the light is coming, even if you can't see it yet. It always does. There is courage in endurance. There is strength in simply staying alive when life feels unbearable. When you continue walking through your darkest hour, step by step, even with trembling hands and a heavy heart, you're proving something incredible: that you are stronger than the night, that you have a light inside you no darkness can extinguish. And that is more powerful than you may ever realize. Sometimes morning doesn't arrive all at once. It doesn't always burst onto the scene with dramatic sunshine and clear skies. Sometimes it comes slowly, a soft shift in the air, a subtle warmth in your chest, a small thought that maybe, just maybe, things might be okay. Maybe the weight will get lighter. Maybe you'll smile again. Maybe you'll find peace. These tiny signs are your dawn. Pay attention to them, welcome them, let them guide you forward. And even if you've walked through the night before and it's returned again, don't despair. Life is not linear. Healing doesn't happen in a straight line. Nights come and go, but each time you survive one, you gain wisdom, You grow deeper. You learn things about yourself that daylight could never teach you. You discover what matters most. You begin to understand what it means to be alive truly, deeply alive not just in joy, but in struggle too. Your darkest night doesn't define you. It doesn't mean you're broken or lost beyond repair. It means you're being reshaped. It means you're in the middle of a transformation, and transformation is messy, it's painful, it requires darkness. But from that darkness, something new can emerge, something stronger, kinder, and more rooted in truth. There will come a day when you'll look back on this season and see it differently. You'll remember how hard it was, yes, but you'll also remember how you kept going, how you didn't quit. How you found pieces of hope in the most unexpected places, a kind word, a deep breath, a quiet moment of stillness. You'll see how every little step you took added up to a journey forward, and you'll be proud. If you're in a dark night right now, don't rush yourself. Don't shame yourself for how you feel. Darkness is part of the human experience. You're allowed to cry, to feel exhausted, to wonder if the light will ever return. Just don't let those thoughts convince you that you're stuck forever. You're not. You're in a night, and morning is on its way. Hold on, rest if you need to, but trust in the rhythm of life. The sun will rise. The warmth will return, and when it does, you'll be there to greet it, not the same person you were before, but someone more resilient, more compassionate, and more alive. Because even the darkest night will end and morning always, always comes. Number 5, new beginnings are often disguised as endings. At first glance, this might sound like a comforting phrase, something people say to ease the sting of loss or change. But if you've ever experienced a painful ending, you know it doesn't feel like a new beginning in that moment. It feels like something important has died. It feels like the rug has been pulled out from under you, and you're left standing in confusion, heartbreak, or fear. The truth is, most endings don't announce themselves as blessings. They arrive with grief, with uncertainty, with doors closing and chapters ending. And yet, so often, they are the very moments that lead us to where we were meant to be. We grow attached to the familiar relationships, jobs, routines, even versions of ourselves that no longer serve us. We cling to what's comfortable because it feels safe. Even when something isn't fulfilling or healthy, it's scary to let go. So when life forces that ending, whether through circumstance, choice, or surprise, it feels like something has been torn away. But what if that tearing is also a clearing? What if what you're losing is simply making room for what you truly need? Sometimes, we outgrow things without realizing it. We stay too long in situations that have finished teaching us what we were meant to learn. Life, in its wisdom, often nudges us toward growth, and when we ignore the gentle nudges, it sends stronger signals. Endings can feel like punishment, but often they're redirections. They're life's way of saying, you don't belong here anymore. There's something more for you. In the middle of an ending, it's hard to trust that anything good could come from it. Your heart is still raw, your vision still clouded. The future looks blurry, and the past feels like it's slipping through your fingers. But this in-between space, this uncertain, uncomfortable middle, is where transformation happens. It's where the seed of a new life is planted, even if you can't yet see what it will become. Think about all the times you thought something was the end of the world, but later, you realized it was just the end of a chapter. Maybe the relationship that broke you eventually led you back to yourself. Maybe the job that ended forced you to discover a passion you didn't know you had. Maybe the failure you were ashamed of became the very foundation of your success. We often don't see the purpose in our endings until we're far enough down the road to look back and connect the dots. But that doesn't make those endings any less meaningful. Starting over isn't easy. It can feel like being dropped into unfamiliar territory with no map. But every beginning starts that way, unformed, unclear, full of questions. The challenge is to keep walking even when you don't know exactly where the path leads. To trust that something good can grow in the space where something else has ended. And to remember that letting go is not the same as giving up. Sometimes it's the bravest thing you can do. New beginnings often require us to leave behind who we were. That can be painful. It means releasing identities, stories, and attachments that once defined us. but it also opens the door for reinvention, for rediscovering what matters, for choosing again more intentionally, more honestly, more fully. And as difficult as it is, there is something deeply empowering about realizing that you can begin again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. Endings also teach us things beginnings never could. They teach us how to grieve, how to adapt, how to surrender. They remind us of what we truly value. They strip away the noise and leave us with what's real. And they give us a chance to rebuild not from who we were, but from who we are now, with everything we've learned and every scar that has shaped us. You don't have to rush your way through an ending. You don't have to pretend it doesn't hurt. Grief and hope can exist side by side. You can mourn what's gone while still opening your heart to what's ahead. You can honor the past while still embracing the possibility of the future. And in time, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, you'll see the light breaking through. You'll feel that gentle stirring of something new taking shape. And you'll know that this wasn't just an end. It was also a beginning. So if you're standing at the edge of something that's fallen apart, if you're watching a part of your life dissolve or change beyond recognition, take a breath. It's okay to feel lost. It's okay to be scared. But also remember this: what feels like the end right now might one day be the reason you become everything you were meant to be. New beginnings rarely announce themselves with certainty. They often arrive dressed as heartbreak, chaos, and doubt. But with time, perspective, and faith in the journey, you'll come to see them for what they truly are: invitations to grow, to evolve, and to write a new chapter. One that might just turn out to be more beautiful than anything you ever imagined. So if you're standing in the ruins, looking at the pieces of what used to be your life, don't turn away. Look closer. Within that brokenness, there's a spark, a flicker, a small light. That's hope, and it's yours. Pick it up, carry it with you, and walk forward, because even when everything falls apart, you can still rise. You can still rebuild. You can still find hope. God bless you.